Welcome to Talk Dirt to Me, where two farmers shatter myths and take on the top issues facing America's farmers. Here's your hosts, Logan and Bobby Lee.
What's going on, everybody?
Yeah, a good morning.
It is a good morning, man. You got coffee. I almost brought some coffee, but I'd be a little overly caffeinated at this point.
Still technically morning, about 11 a.m. So
Yep. Well, we got an awesome episode for you guys today. We got a guest episode into a world that is really new ground for us.
I have no idea what we're going to learn.
Yeah, I'm excited. Before you guys get to hear that, we need y'all to do a couple of things for us. First, we need y'all to leave us 5-star ratings on Spotify and on Amazon, I don't think you can on Amazon, on Apple. But also, if you're listening on YouTube, hit that like button, hit subscribe, comment below, let us know what you think of the episode. And love for you to let us know some feedback on if this is something you knew about or you're just learning about. So, guys, thank y'all for tuning in. And what else I need to do?
Yeah, y'all go check out agzaga.com. Discount code is TalkDirt20. Y'all already knew that because you've all been listening for a while. That's $20 off that $50 minimum order and free shipping. Check them out. Starting to get wound up for Christmas season. All the good toys and whatnot to go along with maybe the more practical items as well.
Yeah.
And then what's that other discount code?
Tractor Mat. Go to tractormat.com. Use the code TalkDirt, all caps, all one word. Get yourself a made in USA tractor mat. I've got mine. It's in my little tractor. I was bush hogging today, combine, everything. So use that code. Save yourself some, what is it, 20%, 15%?
I don't even know. 15, I think.
Can't, but save yourself some money on a great product.
Yeah.
So, guys, we got a great one for you today. We are joined by Mr. Tim from USA Pulses. Man, Tim, thank you for joining us.
Hey, yeah, it's great to be on. Talk dirt to me. You guys are awesome,
man. We appreciate it. We try to have a good time, and we've got a very diverse audience across the country, and so when we kind of get to learning about the pulses, because I'm gonna be honest, the name at first I'm like, what is a pulse? And so I have very limited knowledge. I've grown peas. I have grown some black-eyed peas and stuff out here. And so I guess that falls into the category, don't it?
It does. Welcome to the family. If you're raising black-eyed peas, you are part of the bunch now.
And that's a pretty big thing around here now. It's not really grown on scale.
Yeah.
All hand picked and that sort of thing.
Yeah, bent over, man, it kills my back picking peas. So so that gives people a little sneak peek. Tell us who you are and give us an idea. What is USA Pulses and what is Pulses?
Yeah. So let me just start with Pulses and then I'll get into my background a little bit. So Pulses is not a super well known word here in the US, but actually worldwide, it's really it's really what people call this category of crops. So, they're the dried seeds of legumes that many people, recognize as peas, dry peas, not fresh peas, but dry peas, lentils, chickpeas, and dry beans. Okay. So, we're part of the legume family. And so the legume family is big, so soybeans are a legume, right?
Yep.
And that's the most known, quote, bean, right? Soybeans are widely grown on 60, 70 million acres, all that. So, they know that. And so we're part of the big family, but pulses are a subcategory of the legume family, and peas, lentils, chickpeas, and dry beans. And, they're packed with just unbelievable nutrient density, and they also are just terrific for your soils. And so I was raised on a small farm in eastern Washington, which I own and operate today. And so it's a dryland farm. We don't have any irrigation. We pray every Sunday, for the right rains or for the rain to stop.
Yep.
Okay. So there's
It's always a
There's
battle.
no in between.
No.
It absolutely sucks to live with a farmer, a dryland farmer, because either, my mother-in-law, she has no idea what to do with us, because sometimes I'm saying, oh man, we need rain right now. But then if it's raining in early August when we're harvesting, says we don't want any rain right now. And she's begging for a rain because it's too hot. Right.
Man, I say that every year. We're right outside of Memphis, so we get a lot of rain. We get a lot of rain in the spring, and it's notorious for shutting off during the middle of the year when we need the rain. But
exactly,
that's what you cuss the rains in the spring, and you're praying for rains in the mid-season, and then you're cussing the rains again in the fall. Yep.
It's a life. It's the reason, that we're religious, because you cannot be on your knees enough.
That's right.
To be a dryland farmer. But we're blessed here in Eastern Washington. Where I live is right on the border between North Idaho and Eastern Washington. Okay. So my farm is literally just mostly in Washington, but I can see Idaho from my little farm. And so it's in an area called the Palouse. And so the Palouse was really formed by glacier winds coming from the west of Washington State, and they blew in just like snowdrifts. And so the whole landscape is like rolling hills.
Gotcha.
Right. And so it's a little bit odd because, all of our equipment, our combines in particular, our harvesters, they all have levelers. Right. Because you got to keep, your straw walkers, you got to keep everything kind of level so it doesn't all run to one side and then dump out the back. Right. Yep. So we got to level our combines when we're harvesting. We can get up to like 45-degree slopes.
Wow.
My farm is not quite that steep, but, some of my neighbors have that kind of ground. And they're really deep soils. Right. So, I joke with some of my friends and members in Montana and North Dakota where, picking rocks is an absolute, requirement. We never pick any rocks, right? Our soils are, 5 to 10 feet deep.
Yeah.
Good black soils, really, really rich. And we get normally we get about 20 to 24 inches of rainfall each year.
Yeah.
And so, this place, this little area called the Palouse, Eastern Washington, Northern Idaho, is really famous for terrific wheat yields. Winter wheat, we all plant our winter wheat in the fall here. We do raise some spring wheat, mostly soft white.
Yeah.
And my average yield on my farm for my wheat is 100 bushels an acre.
Hey, that's good. Land. That's great. Yeah.
That's average, right? So this year on my place, we harvested like 115 bushels per acre on our wheat.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah. Do you guys get those kind of yields? I mean,
man,
no?
we're out in the Delta right here. So we've got some strong ground right by the Mississippi River, but then we always kind of say the further away from the river you get, the worse. And I'll tell you, the last year I grew wheat. It's been a few years because I do cover cropping in the fall now, and so it kind of has stopped my wheat harvest. But my last wheat crop probably cut 50 or 60 bushels, and at that bushels, at the prices and costs of it didn't pencil. So now 100 bushel wheat around here would be some dang good wheat.
Yeah, it'd be outstanding.
Yeah, it's pretty good wheat.
Which that glacial soil you got is some killer soil. I mean, it is.
Yeah. It's that silt loam black dirt. It is really, really good soils here, and it's not actually that big. The yields. Like every 10 miles you go away from my little farm. The yields start dropping, right? Because the soil start getting
because you're living right. Because you're living right. That's what it is.
Hey, it's better to be lucky than good, So you don't have to be, as good a farmer in this kind of dirt. Let's just be straight, right? Because it is so, the soils are great. Yep. And usually we are kind of on the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. Think Northern Idaho, the Rocky Mountains would run right up the spine of Idaho. And so we, the clouds come rolling in from, the central part of Washington and western Washington, and then they get kind of stopped there at the mountains, and it dumps on us. And again, literally, 60 miles from my house, it's like a 12-inch rainfall area, and I'm at 22 to 24 normally.
Yeah.
Because we got the rain shadow of those mountains. It's absolutely just a beautiful place to live and work and farm, obviously, and it's really great farm ground. So
now, how does y'all?
So you guys, you ever been up here from?
I have been to Idaho or Utah. I went to Utah one time, and that was my venture out west. And now you've been to.
I've never been to Eastern Washington. My wife has spent some time out there with work, but been on the west side of the state visiting. Going to had a buddy got married out there, and I've been all over Montana, but hadn't made it that far west. Yeah.
It's nice.
Well, it's different country where my farm is, right? Of course, I work. So I was born on a small farm. We had there was 9 of us, 9 siblings. We had everything. I milked cows. We have 4 to 5 milk cows, it was a small little dairy in its originality, right? When my mom and dad bought it. And so I milked cows every day of my friggin' life until I went to college. Thank God I went to college.
Yeah.
Milking cows was some work, right? And we had chickens, we had pigs, we had peacocks. My mom loved peacocks, And so just a few of them. They're loud.
Yeah. So y'all had just a little bit of everything.
Farming. Yeah. We had we had a rainbow of different experiences. We had hay and beef cows. And so anyway, that was my upbringing. Right. And we had a big garden. My sister who lives on the farm now still has a big garden. I farm the property and the pastures and all of that and own that, but she lives on the farm, and it's just a great place to grow up, and so I'm always grateful to my mom and dad for that experience, to raising on a farm.
Yeah.
And that's pretty darn fun, actually. So that's my background. And so it's not a huge farm. I have some pasture. I have some crop ground. Our crop rotation includes wheat, and we always, our wheat crop is always preceded by a pulse crop. So either chickpeas or lentils or dry peas. In my little part of the world where I farm anyway, dry beans don't fit so good because we get kind of some killing frosts in that early June time frame. Peas, lentils, and chickpeas are a cool season legume. Yeah. And so they can stand the cold. It's the reason I'm wearing my coat, because it's always, and it's pretty, it's truly chilly here right now, actually. And so, but dry beans are a little bit, they're raised in North Dakota, a little bit more moisture during the growing season, into August. We don't get any of that here. Basically, the rain shuts off on July 4th.
Gotcha.
And we just turn into a Mediterranean climate, which is perfect if you're going to raise chickpeas, peas, or lentils, because that's what they really want. And so I raise a little barley, a little canola in rotation, in my cropping system. That's pretty much our go-to crops. We have some pasture ground. I used to raise grass-fed beef. Really wish I had 100 head of mother cows right now, because Lord,
you'd be rolling now.
I never saw $1,000 calf. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
That's his world over here.
The last time I was at the sale barn about a month or 2 ago, and these were calves that were probably a month old, bottle calves.
Yeah.
$1,200. I mean, and it's a sure enough bottle calf that's trained on a ball. It's not, just a few days old, but a 125-pound bottle calf, $1,200.
I mean, it's just nuts, right? Yeah. I mean, really nuts.
Yeah. Well, that's what we have listeners right in, because I row crop, and I row crop. He has cattle, and And right now, I tell people, I'm like, yeah, Bobby Lee, he just pulled up in his Ferrari a little while ago. But we have listeners and they're like, Logan needs to, I have like 8 cattle myself. But they're like, Logan needs to really get a big herd now to kind of offset. Cause I mean, we're getting slaughtered in row cropping right now.
Oh yeah. Big.
He's like,
big.
They're like, Logan needs to get into the cattle. And I said, well, hell, then I got to buy into the cattle, man. I mean, right now is the worst time to buy in. I'd need a larger line of credit to buy cattle than I do to put in row crops right now. It's crazy.
Oh yeah. You can't get in right now. I mean, it's just nuts. Right. And so, so I operating word is wish I had him a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Yep.
So, gosh, well, I think it's great, that Bobby Lee is wearing a gold shirt because he's just made it gold.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, you can't see his gold Rolex on his wrist there. He's
exactly.
My scratched up smartwatch. The buttons don't work on the side.
Yeah.
Certainly, the Wranglers are kind of traced in gold, though.
Yeah,
aren't they?
yeah. He's got a little gold trim on there. Yeah. It's wild times, but the pulses thing is really fascinating to me because, like. I've got some ground, actually, the farm that I live on here, I've got some ground that's pretty poor and it's kind of hilly and that's where my dad, he grows a garden that's just out of this world every year. And he told me I was going to plant some peas and he said, man, you need to plant it on some of your worst ground. He said, you don't have to put no fertilizer on it. Like,
that's right.
And it'll do great. And so I just went out there and we have an old 4-row John Deere planter and we kind of rigged it up and I planted peas with it and man, didn't fertilize them. And they did great. I mean, they create their own nitrogen. So, I mean, you don't have to worry about that, but is that kind of, I guess my question for you is, for me on the row crop side, is this a realistic rotation that a guy could put into his, like in Tennessee? Is that something we could do here to implement that? And I guess where would you sell it? That's kind of my questions for you on that.
Well, I mean, there's so this crop in your cropping system, our goal as an association, right? USA Pulses is made up of really farmers, right?
Yeah.
That's the primary, it's checkoff groups, just like your corn and soybean checkoffs. Well, there's checkoff groups for peas, lentils, chickpeas, and dried beans. Most of these crops today are grown in the northern tier part of the United States, Washington State, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin, South Dakota now. Now we're seeing a lot more pulses grown in Nebraska.
Okay.
They've always raised dry beans, mostly under irrigation, but now the dryland guys are raising chickpeas and dry peas. And so we're starting to see now we have a little bit of movement down in southern Minnesota into Iowa. Okay, we're getting close to you guys.
I was going to say, it's getting closer to our area.
So, you have to remember that peas in particular, really the first dry pea breeder in the United States was Thomas Jefferson, at Monticello in Virginia.
Yeah.
Okay. So he had peas in his rotation because it's just been known forever, right, that these are nitrogen fixing crops.
Yeah.
Right. They actually take nitrogen, from the air. They bring it down into their roots. I mean, good Lord, guys, this is truly a magic crop, right? They mix with a bacteria, a rhizobium, and they create their own nitrogen. I mean, imagine a crop that, because, I raise wheat and canola and barley. All those require a lot of fertilizer in order to get top yields. But, peas, lentils, and chickpeas and beans, some beans you fertilize a little bit, but very low amounts.
Yeah.
Peas, lentils, and chickpeas, you don't have to because their nitrogen nodulation is really strong. And it's so strong, right, that it leaves nitrogen for the following crop. And in my case, that's usually wheat. And so these are really important crops. And our goal, the growers that I work with across the country, as well as the processors and the exporters, that are in our coalition, right? Our goal is to double consumption of these crops and production of these crops. And the reason, right, it's so important that we do that, right, is because these are great for your health, but they're also great for your soils.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, these are really, we're moving. Tennessee State University actually is doing some variety trials on pulse crops that you guys should look up, that they're, playing with how these crops could work in your soil conditions, because we know there is either a bean or a pea or a lentil or a chickpea that's going to work in just about every ecosystem in the world. This isn't quinoa, right, where you have to be at a super high elevation to get really good yields.
Yeah.
Pulses are really growing around the world with just all kinds of different types of ecosystems. And so that's why they're so powerful in a cropping system.
Well, that's why I wondered, because, I mean, like I said, it's been pretty easy for us to grow peas. Now, It's always just a small patch, but I've thought to myself, I'm like, well, it does that easy. Yeah. Why can't we grow it more? And some of my cover crop blend has winter peas in it. Whenever and I usually have it just flown on or thrown on with a spreader.
Right.
But I guess I wish we had a place to sell. Is because, that's our big hang up. I mean,
it is.
Man, if we can grow it, we're not afraid to grow it. I mean, we need diverse markets. I mean, that's what's killing us right now is the lack of supply or lack of demand for our supply in the row crop. Well, it sounds like there is demand in the pulses world for more pulses.
There is.
So how do we bridge that gap as far as we want to start growing it? We need a place to sell it.
Yeah, market it right.
Here's the Tennessee secret, right? Is that in Tennessee, you folks have the largest bean processor or canner in the United States.
Really?
Bushes.
They're the biggest, Bush beans.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
In Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yep.
So I'm telling you, you have in your backyard really the largest buyer of beans, of chickpeas in the United States. And they have a lentil canning line that they just bought as well. So there's actually on the East Coast, it's not only just bushes, but in Pennsylvania, there's Fermano Foods. There's a lot of canning based in that kind of East Coast world.
Yeah.
That they buy a lot of pulse crops, and so you guys are actually in a pretty good position and they're taking product. All right, we're shipping these product from the northern states down to Tennessee. It's going through a processing facility. Usually it's cleaned. Put over a gravity table and some air and taking out, some of the chaff that comes just from a field run product, but then it's just going in a tote bag and heading into Knoxville, to service that canning industry. So actually you guys you're in a pretty good position in terms of being really close to a lot of the major canners in the United States. And, I think there's opportunities in Tennessee, and we love to start a chapter, of the Pulse Association, the Grower Association in Tennessee, when you guys get going on it now.
Well,
right.
I mean, man, like I said, we're looking, because that's
now maybe when there's opportunity, because there's a lot of cotton and soybean and corn farmers around here that are, if there's another crop out there that pencils out, because right now those other three don't.
Yeah.
You may have too much supply.
Well, we've talked to people, because again, this year I grew corn and soybeans,
You bet.
and so we have thousands of acres out here that is row crop land, and people tell me online, they're like, well, why would you grow something why don't you grow something else? And it's like, well, we got to grow something that we can sell. Even if we're selling it at a loss, like it's bizarre. People that are outside of it don't understand, but it's like, but we got to do something with thousands of acres. And so if there is a window or an opportunity to grow this crop and we can grow it here, oh man, I think it would just light off like crazy. I mean, I know myself, I would, and it's my pea patch. I have to bend over and pick it up. I don't want to do that on 1,000 acres, but you use your combine, like you were mentioning your combine. So
we do. Yeah. I mean, there are some bean varieties that kind of require some specialized equipment. But I'm harvesting my peas, lentils, and chickpeas with the straight combine, flex header.
Yeah, like a MacDon or something like that.
Yeah, like a MacDon, with a Draper header on it. I mean, it's not. You got to go down to the ground to get them. Okay,
yeah.
So you have to have some. If you have rocks, you're gonna have to roll it.
We don't have any rocks here.
Rocks aren't an issue for us.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, then you guys are in heaven, man. If you don't have any rocks going through your combines, talk to my friends in Montana and North Dakota.
Yeah.
Right? They got to worry about that. On my farm, we don't have to worry about rocks either, because our soils are really deep. But you can, with black bean varieties, pinto bean varieties, the black-eyed peas. You don't. There are varieties now that stand up. And you can cut them with just a straight combine, with your wheat combine. You know, you don't, you have to have a sickle, not a corn head, to put them in. But if you're cutting soybeans, you can cut beans, you can cut peas, lentils, or chickpeas, with the varieties that we have. Now, there are some specialty varieties like the dark red kidney beans that really sit low to the ground. You got to knife them and you got to windrow them and you got to handle them, like with rubber gloves. I mean, because if they get skin checks, then they're not worth as much money.
Yeah.
All right. And so they have special combines that take them in and really handle them gentle. And so when they, go into your truck, you're not getting a bunch of skin checks, but most varieties actually, your pintos, your blacks, your great northerns, your white beans, even your black-eyed peas, they can be straight cut.
Yeah. And
you can have the equipment that you have. We usually have on our farm, right? Because I don't have a corn planter. We don't do corn here. We're too cold. And we don't get enough rains in the summer to really, people are growing some corn here. On some minimum till, no till ground.
Yeah.
But usually it's in the low areas, when you have the rolling hills, it's a little bit tougher. But we don't have not too many corn heads on my farm or in that area. It's all wheat sickles and that's what we use combine.
Is that what does the process look like? Take us through because I don't even know seed varieties. I know bean varieties. Like kind of run us through the spill because I'm curious of the whole process.
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's a lot of seed suppliers across the United States. Again, you go to, North Dakota, Minnesota, you're going to have plenty of options for, something that's pretty close. Michigan, as well has, good seed, product to sell for seed. A lot of, in terms of dry beans, ironically, a lot of the seed production for the industry actually is in the Pacific Northwest, in Washington and Idaho, and it's grown under irrigation. And the reason most of the seed supply comes from the western part of the United States is just there's no soil-borne diseases. And so, you folks haven't raised any pulse crops. And so the disease pressure in your soils is going to be pretty low, I would imagine. And so, but it's always good to have really good, clean seed that you can certify doesn't have any soil, borne diseases in it. And so that's really important. Peas, lentils, and chickpeas, there is good certified seed outfits all throughout the northern tier of the United States. I can hook your listeners up with people who want to try this crop in some of their acreage, just small acreage. That's what I advise anyone who's trying these things to begin with. You start small, right? And
about 5,000 acres.
Okay. Okay, Logan. I mean, just 5,000.
Yeah, only
okay.
5,000 acres. You'll just start off easy.
That's no risk there.
Yep.
No risk. Go big or go home.
That's right. That's right. That's the only way to do it. I want to buy a brand new combine to do this. I want to go out and take out a huge loan. Let's start this off right.
I also, I really, I also encourage people to reach out to the people at Tennessee State University who are doing some work on this crop. Just seeing what works kind of in their ecosystem on their university farm.
Yeah.
Because they are working on it. They're looking at some chickpeas and some dry bean varieties. We're working with them as a national association. Because again, our goal, right, is we believe pretty strongly that we can grow these crops in a lot of different ecosystems in the United States. And I believe that it's really important that farmers actually have more crop biodiversity on their farms.
Yeah.
And that's why we're seeing these crops move more into Nebraska. I mean, this is corn and soybean country in Nebraska, but, farmers there are saying, geez, I need another break crop, besides corn and soybeans in this rotation.
Yep.
And these crops really can deliver that. And they've had really strong demand. Now, we're not any different than every other crop right now. The tariff situation has been tough.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's not quite as bad as soybeans, where China's not buying anything. They're still buying a few green peas from us and some lentils. But, there's just so much uncertainty around the world.
Yep.
In the markets right now that we've seen our prices back off, considerably as well. Most crops are still in the black, but boy, a year ago we were really flying high, and we've come off 20, 30% on our pricing.
Yeah.
Sometimes depending on on the crop, some of it's up to 40%. So we're not as bad a shape as corn and soybeans, let's put it that way. So It's worth actually penciling out and seeing what it would actually do. There's great online tools that we can direct them to, just what it takes. We have guides, and mostly, for the northern tier of the United States. But they work down in your area as well.
Well,
So,
I was going to ask, if you don't mind, could you give us an idea of what it costs to put one in? Like, kind of give our listeners an idea, because I'm genuinely curious, man. Because I know around here on soybeans, you could roughly say, and this varies for everybody, but $225 to $250 an acre. That's not rent. That's just seed, chemical fertilizer. So like, what would you, and then is it the same in terms of you get paid per bushel when you haul it? How does that all work?
So, if we were to look at just dry peas, right, in North Dakota, for example, I'm just looking up the, North Dakota State University website right now and pulling up their field peas. Okay. And if you take a look at that, the direct costs, this is just direct costs. So you're talking seed, your crop protection products for weed control, fungicide, seed treatment. Sometimes they have some bug problems, but not. You guys may have a little bit more insect problems, in that warmer climate.
Yeah.
So you'd probably have to just spray for some bugs. Crop insurance, fuel, all of that. So you can put one of these, a field pea crop, in for about $185 to $200
Yeah.
an acre. Okay. And that's your direct costs, right? Just to put it in the ground. Doesn't have anything for, machinery or, land charges, or, if you bought the place for $25,000 an acre, trying to make that payment.
Yeah. Well, you better grow marijuana or some, something to make some cocaine on there if you're going to be getting that kind of money.
Yeah.
And so it varies in terms of how they're sold, right? So it varies a little bit about which region of the country you are. So in kind of that North Dakota complex, field peas are done by the bushel. They're a 60-pound bushel, just like wheat.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, a market price right now ranges between $6 and $8 a bushel.
Yeah.
And so, the revenue between 200 and $240, right now at $8 a bushel.
I was gonna say, how many bushels do you average probably?
Well, probably about 30 bushels per acre. And, I would imagine, you guys, because I spent some time obviously at the Bush with the Bush team in Knoxville, and I've toured around your state just a little bit. God, really, really gorgeous farm ground, beautiful place to live. And so you get some rain though, right?
We get about 54 to 56 inches a year. We got 60 inches before July this year?
Even know, yeah.
It was we got more than our annual rainfall before midsummer this year.
So it's interesting because, one of the things that we're developing, the growers have done a lot of investment in is in planting fall seeded peas, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm thinking you guys, you probably get double crop. These, if you had a fall, you've planted in the fall, 50 inches of rain, that's a lot. And you're getting that. Are you getting that rain? Because you're doing corn and soybeans. So you're getting that rain in July and August, right?
Well, you ideally
that's when it gets
do,
questionable.
But that's what's killed us. That's what's killed us the last really probably about 3 years.
We went about 75 days here, starting about the 10th of July with virtually no rain.
Yeah.
Now that was
okay.
a drought. No, that's not a normal year. Normally we'll catch a rain here and there, and this summer it just didn't happen.
Well, just, we're talking just about the cycle. So most of these crops, except for, we'll talk about the winter peas here in just a minute, but most of the peas grown in the U.S., it's about 1 million acres of peas grown in the U.S. Most of them are planted in between March and the end of May.
Okay, so like soybeans kind of in our area.
Just like soybeans, okay, just like soybeans. Now, dry beans, because they're a little bit not as frost tolerant, most of those are planted in June.
Okay.
Early to mid-June is when most of them go on the ground. And so in those areas like the Red River Valley of, right on the Minnesota, North Dakota border, they get good rains. They have super deep soils. And they get a lot of rain during that, July, August timeframe, which is not only it's good for corn and soybeans up there too, but it's really good for the dry beans because they kind of pass the frost, and then they harvest those crops. Usually the end of, September, early October is when they get them in the bin. The beauty of these winter sown, so they're like planted in September, late September, at least in this country, late September. Put peas in the ground. There is some varieties, not very many, but a few varieties of winter sown peas or autumn sown lentils as well. And, they're harvested like in June.
Okay.
Because they come firing out of our winter. And, we get snow and some 0 degree temperatures. So you got to be a little bit hardy to, survive. And then, we're harvesting those in June, sometimes early June. Or mid-June. Well, in this country, at least in our area, it's just like winter wheat, right? So winter wheat gets harvested in our country about end of July.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you can pull your peas off in, let's say, June or early July, pretty much all the rains stop here. July 4th, it's over.
Yeah.
Pretty much across the northern tier until you hit like the middle of North Dakota, where then they have more rains, right? In that July period. But so these are really drought tolerant crops. That's, if you're looking at any kind of change in your, weather system, these are really drought tolerant crops. Doesn't sound like 50 inches a year, you have much trouble with drought. But if you're not getting any rains in July and August, well, that's like perfect. If you get rains kind of before that, that's like perfect for raising peas or lentils or chickpeas, because if the rains shut off in July, you'll have great quality, you'll have good yields, and you'll be done with harvest by, the end of July.
Yeah.
And there's, who doesn't want to go fishing in August? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And so, that is, an opportunity if you see, your weather patterns really, really changing. Beans are a little bit different. They kind of need those July and August rains in order to get to September.
Yeah.
To mid-September to get harvested and have really good yields. So yeah, that's kind of the pattern. So anyway, there is, I know that in the South, right, that there's an opportunity with, raising some winter peas, that could go, in a double crop situation. You plant probably late soybeans, right, into that ground, or corn. You guys probably do corn probably in mostly April, May, or do you plant it a little bit later?
No, there's different. They've been running studies, and there's some that are now saying you can plant corn into May, and it'll actually do pretty good. This year, I planted some corn late. I planted beans first, then I planted corn late, and it kind of burned me. So really, April time frame is still. If we can get it corn planted in April, I still think that's probably better.
Yeah.
And we're starting to plant beans even. Used to, beans you planted like all the way into June. And now guys are starting to plant beans at the end of March, which our problem here is we're fighting the rain, because at that point we're getting a tremendous amount of rain. Like that, there's been springs where we were planting where we might plant 300 acres and then we don't plant again for 3 weeks because it just starts raining and raining and raining. So we do got to battle the weather at that time.
So I gave you some cost of production stuff on peas. Lentils are a little bit less expensive because you don't have to, they're a really small seed, right? And they're terrific for your health too. We'll talk about that a little bit later here, but so they probably have, you don't need very much seeds, like 45, 50 pounds of seed to put out there. Peas, you need to have about 80 to 100.
Yeah.
Because just the size of the seed is larger, right? And chickpeas, you got to be seeding them at 150 to 180 pounds.
So are you sowing them? Is that how you do yours? You sow the seed?
Oh yeah. And we put them, they're in 7-inch rows. Okay. And you plant them with a wheat seeder.
Okay.
I suppose there are some people that can plant them with a row crop seeder. But you'd plant them like soybeans, really. Same machinery anyway, but we are on 7-inch rows because you want them when they germinate, you want them to fire out as quick as you can and try to canopy over to keep your weed pressure down.
Yep.
I mean, let's be honest, it's all about weed control, right?
Oh yeah.
Weed and disease management, and you want them to canopy. And peas actually canopy pretty quickly, and they'll keep the weed pressure down pretty low. Lentils are a little less. They kind of have a thin leaf that looks like an alfalfa leaf.
Yeah.
And so it takes them a longer time to get to that canopy, which means weed pressure. There's some pretty good products out there that'll keep, the weed pressure down, but you got to have the right application, and you got to have a rain after it. And you got to stand on one leg and have one arm up in the air and make sure you get decent weed control.
Yeah.
Sometimes, right. Because of all the, environmental factors that have to go right and in your way. Chickpeas are probably the worst in terms of weed control because they're kind of a bushy plant. Yeah. And they yield pretty good, but there's a lot of bare dirt out there. Now, dry beans are better, they canopy over better, and they keep, that shade on the ground, which keeps the weeds under control. But for beans, which should probably work a little bit better down in your situation because they're more of a warm season cropping system, their seed costs are, 85 to $100 an acre. That's your biggest cost.
Yeah.
And then you have, because, you're going to have to plant in that depending on the size of the bean, like, cowpeas or the, the black-eyed peas, they're smaller seeds. You need a little bit less seed, but if you're going to go with a pinto bean, well, you got to be probably in that 180 pound, 190 pound per acre. So, you're looking at a total cost, with just your direct costs, seed, crop protection products, fuel to get them in, all that, probably about $320 to $330 an acre. And, they're sold by the bag or the 100 pounds. And so, a decent price or a decent yield is about a couple thousand pounds per acre or 20 bags.
Yeah.
That's in the bean world. It's all about bags. Right?
Gotcha.
How many bags are you pulling off? And so it's about 20 bags, 2,000 pounds an acre. And, we've seen market prices fall off a little bit, but you're looking at between, 25 to 30 cents a pound or $25 to $30 a bag. And so about, 500 to $545 an acre for a bean crop.
Well, that's better than where we're at right now. We're not seeing, like you said, you can see some black on y'all's numbers right now. We're not seeing any on the row crop, on the corn and soybeans and cotton world. So, yeah. So
it's, we're hanging in there. Our prices were much higher a year ago than they are now. The biggest factor with these crops is they really don't require much fertilizer, right? So your input costs are so much lower when you're, putting these in the ground versus, some of your other options that you have. I mean, Lord, fertilizer costs are, I'm putting, 160 pounds of nitrogen down on my wheat every year, and that you got at $4.50, it ain't cutting it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I was gonna say that's corn out here. We're throwing. I mean, man, it ain't nothing to throw 200 units of nitrogen on the corn, and I mean, there's guys that have gone. They go even 250. We've got some ice cream dirt out here where guys will really try to push the barrier, and they'll throw some nitrogen at it. So I wonder, have you ever figured up how much nitrogen carryover you have afterwards?
Yeah. So the university folks have, verified this, and farmers who have these crops in their rotation just know this for, you're going to get, and it depends on the, peas, lentils, and chickpeas and dry beans have, depending on the variety a little bit, but you're going to get between 30 and 50 pounds of N, carryover. If it really not, what they've shown, at least for peas, lentils, and chickpeas, dry beans are a little bit, because they do pump a little bit of nitrogen. They don't nodulate quite as well as peas, lentils, and chickpeas. So they're pumping a little bit of nitrogen at them. But for peas, lentils, and chickpeas, they don't yield better if you pump more nitrogen at them. It actually hurts the nodulation.
They probably just get viney, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, so they grow like alfalfa, but there's no seeds. Yeah. And so they actually need to be stressed a little bit in order to really pump out more seed. I also, want to give a little shout out, to Bobby Lee on this, because if your cousin is raising peas and you want a really good feed, I'm telling you, peas are terrific feed.
Really?
And so even, there's always going to be a market for the cowboys, even if, you don't make quality or whatever it is into, you want a human consumption, because, cowboys don't pay any money for their feed. But I'm sure you have that argument with him all the time, Logan.
Oh, he laughs at me. Yeah, he just kicks me while I'm down right now.
We love $4 corn.
Yeah, exactly. Well, peas are really an excellent feed. They have, about 26 pounds, of protein, percent protein. They have good dietary fiber. So they're good for the gut health of the animals and for human health as well. Yeah. They're just really terrific for human health. And so there is an outlet, whether it's peas, lentils, chickpeas. The animals love these crops. I mean, love them. It's like cotton candy to them.
My
so
goats.
you grind it up a little bit and, mix it with corn, a little bit more energy.
Yeah.
Lord howdy, these are really good feedstocks. And we believe, right, not only that, but, there are some consumers that are really interested in, lower carbon footprint animal protein. And, we have studies that show really that these are such sustainable crops because they fix their own nitrogen in the soil, that we can actually reduce the carbon footprint just of beef and pork by, 15 to 20% just by adding pulses into the feed ration. And so, there's going to be a market for that, and people are developing that for that end of consumers that are really concerned about that. So it's just, there's a lot of good mojo with these crops for, animal feed, but obviously human feed's where the money is, for sure. But I always want to qualify for, because I get it, Logan, right? I mean, if you don't have a market for this, where in the heck are you going to go with this crop, right?
Yeah.
And so in our world, right, up in the northern tier, I send my product off the combine. It goes to a processor. And what that processor does basically is takes it in, because it's really a food grade product in the combine.
Yeah.
All they're doing is cleaning it. And sometimes mostly they're cleaning it, and, taking out the chaff and the stones and the dirt, because, you're on the ground picking this stuff up. All right. So it's kind of like Linus. All right. I mean, you got a dirt cloud around you the whole time.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm dating myself, with peanuts, but
Charlie
he
Brown
had a dirt cloud around his blanket all the time. And it's kind of what it's like harvesting these crops.
Yep.
There's dirt all over the place. And so, they're taking the dirt out, taking any stones, small stones that are in there, separating out if there's any, wheat in it or, other crops. And then it's, they send it over a gravity table where there's air coming up, and it's kind of tilted a little bit. So all the chaff's running to one side, and then the seeds just drop off.
Okay.
And then they go into a bag. Or into a boxcar or a tote bag, and they're shipped to their end user. The packagers, the canners, they're taking these. We have a lot of food innovation happening in the pulse crops right now because of the plant forward movement that's in our country that still continues to grow. Super amount of innovation, right? Think of the protein, the plant protein drinks that are out there right now. A lot of pea protein in that, and so. There's just a lot of exciting things happening on the food innovation side with plant-based foods and that dynamic. They also blend really well with animal proteins, super well. I mean, you can't have chili without the beans, man. I mean,
I'm saying, I ain't gonna have no. The people want to cook chili and don't put any beans in it. That's like a blasphemy to me.
Come on. Be serious,
you don't
right?
want no beans?
Well, no, a few beans, but I've had some chili that was more like bean soup, and I'm like,
Oh, I want a bunch of meat and I want a bunch of beans.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that's the beauty, right? Is that they are complementary, and we're not at war with the animal protein people. All right, we actually are beneficial. We're beneficial in their cropping systems. We're beneficial as a feed source if they want to use it as a feed source, and we certainly blend on the menu.
Yeah.
And so in a lot of different ways. And so, the truth is, right, we have a huge problem with chronic disease in this country, right? We have really high levels of cardiovascular disease and diabetes. And certain cancers like colon cancer and all that. And the truth is you can help. And that's why it's so exciting. The MAHA movement is really, and RFK and all those folks are really focusing on how are we going to get a handle on these chronic diseases. And I'm telling you that pulses with their high dietary fiber and really good for gut health are a real solution. And we're just not eating enough of them. I mean, right now we eat about 7.5 to 8 pounds a person per year of, beans, peas, lentils, and chickpeas in the United States. And so our goal is to double that. Right?
Yeah, that seems really low to me.
I mean, that's really really low.
Yeah.
It's super low. And so when I talk to my, cowboy friends, and as being a cowboy myself, I'm saying, hey, you guys are sitting at the 160 level. All right.
Yeah.
We're trying to get people's dietary fiber up. We want to blend with your proteins. We're trying to improve people's health. And so they can eat more of our product, right? Because dead people don't eat.
Yeah.
So we're trying to elevate that and get the chronic diseases down. And pulses are a huge way to do that. And because they are so good for your gut health, they're a vegetable protein as well. They can blend with anything. And so we can improve every single diet, whether you're a vegetarian or whether you're a meat eater. We can blend with either of those two extremes, and you can come out with a healthier menu choice. We just have to increase our consumption of these crops. And as we increase consumption, then that means we're going to increase production. And I'm telling you, these are so terrific for your soils and for crop biodiversity. And here's why, right? On my farm, we have the wheat plant. The roots go deep, and they get that deep moisture.
Yeah.
Right. But for a pulse crop, the roots are only, 2 to 3 feet. They're not going down 6 feet to get that deep moisture. And so when I put those pulse crops, not only are they fixing nitrogen in the soil, but they're not mining that deep moisture that I need in a dryland farm. I'm hoping all the winter rains come in and, they're recharging the deep stuff.
Yeah.
For for canola, for wheat, for barley, I need to have that deep moisture to have really good yields. And so pulse crops, they're a pretty drought tolerant crop. They don't go after that deep moisture. They leave that for all those cereal grains that are really thirsty all the time.
Yeah.
If you want a good yield, right? And so they have that shallow moisture. They take that shallow moisture. They still have a good yield on that. They leave nitrogen in the soil. And that's why they are so critical to that we expand these acres across the United States for just crop diversity. Shallow moisture, drought resistant, a super nutritional packet, totally nutrient dense, and they're a super sustainable crop as well for your farm. So, that's why my farmers, who I work for, I'm the CEO of USA Pulses. I'm really a farmer, but they made me the CEO of this place. And I've been doing it for about 30 years now. And there's never been more exciting time in our crop, because not only are they being recognized as a crop that's really good nutrition and good for your health and has positive health outcomes, but they're terrific for the soil health as well, right?
Yeah.
And that's just, we need that recharge in our cropping systems. You guys know that, right? You have to have those recharge crops in order to have good soil health long-term on your farm.
Well, I think you're spot on that. I mean, that's why in our area we're seeing more and more people going to cover crops over the fall and the winter. And I kind of pride myself in being one of the more early adopters of the cover cropping, but I love it. And I love to see something growing. And so it's because we've got places out here where there's farms that are just beans, or really in our area, a lot of it'll be cotton. It's just cotton to death. And it's funny. I've picked up some farms, guys have retired or something. I'll pick up a farm. It has been cotton for 20 years, and 18 out of 20 years it has had cotton grown on it. And I'll put beans or corn on it that first year, just break that. I don't plant cotton, but break that rotation, and I'll have some huge yields. And it's just that ground just responds so strongly to that rotation. And so that's what it really piques my interest in.
Yeah.
Being able to rotate a crop in a new crop, like a totally new crop that I've probably never even grown on this ground before. I mean, I think that's fascinating. And like I said, we are at a unique time in agriculture history to where I think we're going to have to see more diverse markets come alive. And so this to me seems really exciting.
I think it's, I think we're on the cusp of just a real big change.
Yeah.
And I think farmers, especially farmers who, it just doesn't look good for corn and soybeans right now. Let's just be straight, right? Or wheat for that matter, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask if you're hiring.
Yeah, well, actually I am. I do have some positions open.
Hey, after this year, I might need something. Yeah.
There you go. I mean, I just think that as wherever you're farming at, right, you have to look at, okay, obviously you have to look what's good for your soils and what's the good long-term, for your soil health, because you can blow something out for a year, but then it messes up all your rotations for, the following years. And you have to take a look at what's sustainable, but you also have to take a look at, wow, can I make any money on this?
Yeah.
And that's what everybody's doing in the wintertime, right? They're looking at their spreadsheets going, is anything going pencil out?
Yeah.
How much crop insurance can I get on this product?
Yep.
So that, there's a lot of considerations, but these crops are something that growers need to take a look at, and give, sample around. So again, don't have to start with 5,000 acres, but you can start with a little bit just to see how they do, in the world. If I was you guys, I'd be trotting down to Knoxville, Tennessee saying, hey, what beans do you need down here? And what can we deliver to you? There's processing is an issue. However, the processing is really no different than soybean processing. Yeah. All right. They're cleaning up the soybeans too. They're running those over gravity tables, and getting them ready for export. So there's probably, if you look around, even in your local area, there's probably someone who could clean up the product a little bit and get it in shape to send to something like a Bush Brothers or Fermanos or Faribault or, those other canners down there. So, and heck, you have a transportation advantage. Let's be straight, right? Yeah. You can actually run a truck down Knoxville, right? Yeah. And we're putting it in rail cars, sometimes trucks, and that's a long way to go. Yeah, it is. So sounds like, I just think there's real, there's some real opportunities. We also export these crops, right? There's probably about 30%, 30 to 35% of the dry beans in the country are exported, up to 40%, depending on how much production we have. Lentils are a little more dependent on export, probably about 60 to 65%. Peas are about 40% are exported. Yeah. Chickpeas are about 35 to 40% exported. So, we need those export markets too. And we're hopeful that, the president will come through with really great trade negotiations and level the playing field. But for right now, wow, we're in the soup, with the other row croppers right now too. Cause if you take 30 to 40% of your market away, it's going to drop our prices here domestically, even though it's growing. Our domestic market is growing significantly. Yeah. But we still need the export markets, just like the soybeans and corn and wheat, in order to keep our prices at a level that are really profitable.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like you might need to look into a processing plant.
Dude, that's what I was just thinking.
Hey,
I was thinking the same thing.
If you can't find anybody around here willing to do it, say, hey, we got a market just on the other end of the state.
I was just thinking that.
They're willing to take this many, truckloads of dry beans. We can grow it, get a handful of guys around here to grow them, and you can process them.
To be straight with you guys, most of the processing, of pulse crops is a family-owned small business.
Okay.
They're not big shops. Yeah. They're not big shops. They're family-owned. They have a gravity table. We can set you up with the equipment suppliers. And you might even be able to pick up some used stuff, So, it's possible, actually, Bobby Lee. I mean, that's really a reality. Yeah. We have some big players. I mean, ADM is a player. We have Columbia Grains, another big player, but most of my members actually are small family-owned business, have been in business for, 50 to 100 years.
And so you sell to them, and then they sell to bushes or
that's correct
or whatever. Yeah,
that's correct. So, all of my growers that I represent, right, they will ship their product to what we call processors. And usually, the processors in our region, really across the northern tier, generally they'll do a little forward contract with you.
I was about to ask you about that.
My next question,
a little forward contract. It's only for, maybe a quarter of your crop. But, they'll put a number on it to make sure that they get the seed in the ground that they need to meet their customer needs. And, but, you have a little bit of coverage on your variable costs. And that was good this year, right? Because, most lentils and chickpeas were at, 35 to 40 cents, and now they're at 20 to 25 cents. Yeah. And so it was nice to have that little 500 pounds, in the bank as you're shipping on that to the processor. We also have revenue crop insurance for pulses. You have to it depends on a little bit on the crop. Peas, lentils, and chickpeas, you guys would have to start a checkoff in Tennessee, which I could help you with. No problem. All right. And then we could get you in, because the harvest price is actually established on the dollar amount that you sell into your first purchasers.
Okay.
For peas, lentils, and chickpeas. Dry beans is a little bit different because they use Bean Market News as their harvest price indicator. But anyway, we can help you with all that if you want to get started. I think you guys would be great processors, right?
It's piqued my curiosity.
Yeah. Well, and what's the average grower? I mean, are they growing 200 acres, 2,000 acres? Like what's typical?
Yeah. It's, the scales are so different across the northern tier, right? So in the Palouse country, we have some bigger farms that are, 10 to 15,000 acres. Those are pretty big farms for out here. Most of the average farm in this country is probably about 2,500 to 3,000 acres on this dry land area. And so, about a third of that, that 3,000 acres would be in a pulse crop. Okay. In a pea, in a lentil, or in a chickpea.
That's pretty typical of kind of our
so 3 to 4 year crop rotation. Now, as you head out to, Montana, out to the big sky country, the farms are a little bit bigger there, but they're wheat, and I'm coming from, the farms are smaller here because our yields, and all of the farms here are family owned and have been for, generations. But the wheat yields here and the pulse yields here have been really high, right? Yeah. And so, but, you move to the Montanas and the western North Dakota, where, you don't have 100 bushel, average wheat yields. You may have 60, right? Or less.
Well, you're being generous now.
And that's generous, it could be 40, depending what variety you're raising and what kind of rainfall you get. Yeah. And so the transformation in that country, where you kind of had a culture of wheat summer fallow, right? Where you'd have idle. They'd just be collecting moisture for the next year's wheat crop, right? Yep. They go wheat, and then they have it set out a year, and then they plant wheat again.
That's crazy.
What we call summer fallow, right? And so that was the rotation. Maybe they mix in a little barley, and it's all grown in the spring because the winters are so tough with a wind that just goes racing through there like a razor blade, right? Yep. And wow, that's really tough to raise winter wheat, although there is a little bit of winter wheat grown there now, but not a lot, mostly spring wheat country. Well, pulses just took off like a wildfire, in the early 2000s. And so when I first came on this job, as the CEO of USA Pulses, it was just really centered in Washington and Idaho, where our national offices are. I'm sitting literally on the state line. That's where our offices are, with Washington on one side and Idaho. My two arms, there's Washington and Idaho. You're looking at them, right? And so that's where the industry for peas, lentils, and chickpeas really began. And the farmers here knew from the 1940s on that, wow, this was a great cropping system, especially for if you followed a pea crop with a wheat crop, you get that 40-pound nitrogen bump. You can lower your nitrogen and you'd get these terrific yields, and it's good for your soil health and all that. Well, they weren't really doing that in Montana and North Dakota at that, for that time. But in the 90s, they started experimenting with these crops, and all of a sudden they weren't doing wheat summer fall anymore. They were starting to do more annual cropping because, again, these are shallow rooted crops that don't need a lot of moisture, right? They just need a little moisture in May and June. And if they get a shot in July, you're going to have a great yield.
Yeah.
And that is what they have across this northern tier in the Montana and North Dakota, South Dakota, into Minnesota, and it just really exploded. And so we went from less in 1995, 94, when I took over this place, we had less than 400,000 acres of peas, lentils, and chickpeas in the United States, and now we have over 2 million acres.
Yeah, nice.
And it was because we farmers converted from a wheat summer fallow, and they were doing annual cropping with these drought tolerant crops. And kids came back to the farm. Processing plants bloomed all over the northern tier. And again, not big processing, just small processing plants bloomed all across Montana and North Dakota and into South Dakota. And, it was good for the rural economy because we had more activity. You have to deliver these to somebody to get them cleaned up to ship to folks like Bush Brothers and packagers like Trinidad Benham and others. Who are packaging and now into the food innovation. I mean, we have a big movement right now of pulse-based pastas, that the only ingredient is peas in them or lentils or chickpeas.
Yeah. Now
there also are blends with wheat products that are also terrific. But for that gluten-free crowd, man, these are really great pastas.
Yeah.
So, hey, we've seen a big market expansion, for demand, and as well as in the food, the food innovation has just been, off the charts. So, yeah, there's a lot going on in our world. Imagine, in my career, going from 400,000 acres to over 2 million, 2.5 million, and we want to double that, again.
Yeah.
Because not only, for soil health, obviously, and crop biodiversity, but for human health, these are just really terrific for human health as well. And why? We're trying to get the dietary guidelines, right? And there's been a lot of talk about dietary guidelines, but the science is pretty darn clear. We are currently, the recommendation of the dietary guidelines is 1.5 cup per week. And the advisory committee recommended that it really move to 2.5 cups per week, because if we're really going to tackle chronic diseases, and this is what we're hoping, Secretary Kennedy and Secretary Rollins are taking a look at as there was a lot of controversy about the protein. The advisory committee put pulses in the protein category. It's not actually something that we asked for. We like being in the vegetable category. We have always been a protein, but we want to stay in the vegetable category because in the school lunch programs, there's a requirement that you have to have so many cups in the school lunch program as a vegetable. Yep. So we're not trying to move out of the vegetables. I don't want to piss off my cattle people here. We're trying. But if you are serious, and I think my animal protein friends would agree, we really do have to get a handle on our chronic disease problem in this country, especially in rural America. And these crops can really help with that. And I'm an example, right? I mean, I have a pulse, primarily lentils for breakfast every single morning. And I challenge you guys, right, that you should give this a try. Because I walked into my doctor here about 3-4 years ago, and she told me, she said, "Look, brother, you're getting older. Look at all this gray hair I got up here. And you can't be eating like you have eaten in the past. All right." And she said, "Your cholesterol is up, your blood pressure is up, and I'm going to put you on statins." And I said, whoa, wait a minute. You don't understand. I'm the CEO of USA Pulses. Okay. And I had to take my own medicine. And so it was pretty humbling. I have to admit, it was pretty humbling, but I was up there, I was up over the 200 range. And she said, you're going to go on statins and I'm going to recommend them. And I said, well, we'll see. And I really committed. I eat pulses every single day, at least 3/4 of a cup to a cup a day. And 6 months after I did this routine, I went back into here, took the blood test. I told her nothing. She just looked at the results and she said, whoa. Says, I don't know what you're doing, but you keep doing it.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't taken any statins or anything. And he says, but I lowered it by 15 to 20%. And it's because I just had these crops in my diet every single day. And so that is, and it's not a lot, right? I mean, it's just not a lot. It was a small change in my diet, and I did it at breakfast.
Yeah.
And the great thing about these crops is this is really fun, right? Because the big craze right now is GLP-1s.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
The Ozempics and all of that. And it's terrific in this way. I've seen many of my friends, right, who seriously had a serious weight problem, and man, they look like $1 million, right? They just look fantastic. And I'm going, God bless them. This is fantastic. But here's the really fun thing. There are natural GLP-1 foods.
Yeah.
And guess what? Pulses are those foods. We have a really high glycemic index, which means when you eat pulses in the morning, which I do, right? At my breakfast, between 7 and 8, they are low, you are burning that sugar low. It's a low curve all the way till you get to noontime or beyond. And so it's really a slow burn. And that's what you need, the super high carb diets that you have with wheat or rice or something that it's hit you right away. That's great, right? It hits you right away, just energy right now, but then you're hungry at 10.
Yep.
Right? Or you need a snack or you need something, right? But with pulses, it's a slow burn. It's a slow digestion all the way through. We are a GLP-1 and you don't have to take a shot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, so there is just so much going on for these crops, right? Not only for your soils, but for your health, that it's just really important that we increase consumption and get that word out. I appreciate being on this show. Just to say, if nothing, your listeners get nothing else out of this, I hope they try a little pulses on their farms.
Oh yeah.
But I also hope, more importantly, that they try them in their diets, because I think they can really help them, really have a really balanced diet. They can still eat their animal proteins. Okay.
Yeah.
You won't be cheating anybody. Okay. You'll still have your animal proteins, but have some of that dietary fiber in your diet as well.
Where can people learn more about what y'all are doing?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're working hard, right? If you're really out there, on the tractor and you're getting on and off and you're filling the seed trucks and you're, doing all that and you're moving around a lot, and you don't have time for lunch, or you're eating a sandwich or something quick on the tractor or in the combine right now, if you're harvesting corn or soybeans, make sure that you're getting a pulse snack. All right. There's some roasted chickpeas, roasted lentils, roasted beans. Fava beans are fantastic. They're a great protein snack, as well as a fiber snack, while you're sitting in the tractor or the combine too. And they've gotten them so, they're convenient as well as being, grandma, our grandmas, they ate a lot of pulse crops in our diets. And so, there was a time where, there was a big decline of, we went from eating a lot of beans and peas and split pea soup and lentils and all that. And then it started to decline. And now we're starting to head back up, because even though they're affordable, they're really affordable.
Yeah.
I mean, Bobby Lee's steaks now, I'm telling you what, you got to be earning some money. Yeah. Okay. In order to, and I do. Okay. I do,
Oh yeah. Well, I've always said that you can buy a bag of, cause like when I make, like white beans and ham, I buy the dry beans. Like, gosh, like you can, and of course they last forever.
Yep.
And you can buy, they don't give them away at the store, but it's like, man, this doesn't cost anything.
Yeah,
exactly. And they're really good with a ham bone too.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's really the ticket, guys. And I like to make fun of my cattle producers a little bit because they got the Cadillac of protein right now.
Yep, they do. They do.
And it's real good, and I love it. But on the off days, you should save a little money and have a pulse crop. And with that roast, you should have some pulses. Just blend it a little bit. It goes farther. No,
I'm with you. Hey, something we like to do here at the end of the segment is we like to highlight a made in America product, brand, product, anything. And we like to put our guests on the spot and get you to do one. So Bobby Lee he'll play our intro into this, and then we'll let you give us a product or brand that you would put your stamp of approval on.
Sure.
Let me start off with 2 words. Made in America.
Start off with 2 words, made in America.
Wow. 2 words, made in America?
Yeah.
Wow. Our former commander-in-chief.
Just his favorite 2 words, man, made in America.
Made in America. Well, U.S. pulse crops are made in America. If you're eating a canned bean in this country, it is made in America. The Bush brand, the Seneca brand, the Fairbone, the Safeway brand, the Select brand, those are made in America. Those awesome. Products are coming. Yeah. They're coming from America, right? So anything in a can, most products in a package, right, are made in America here as well in that line.
Yeah.
But what other fun things that are coming, is that a lot of these pulsed snacks, like pulse roasted chickpeas, that's a made in America product, right? And the pulse flours or for pastas, like there is a terrific pea pasta called veggie pasta. That's a made in America product. The lentil pastas, the chickpea pastas from Bonza, for example, that's a made in America product. We have a lot of made in America product, and there's a lot more. We have a growing acreage in this country. And not only is it good for America's health, but it's good for America's soils. And we hope to have, the Talk Dirt to Me crew, be raising pulses here in the future and add to both the consumption.
There you go.
Both you guys, right? and also the production and maybe even a processing plant. We can get you set up.
Yeah.
Well, when I was in Knoxville, when I was in school, we actually, because of course, like you said, Bush's is there. I guess it was the food science department. You could sign up to do like these taste tests, and like you get an email like, and if we had time, we would go over there that morning. And it was usually beans that we were because you didn't know what it was going to be when you got there. They'd give you like 3 samples, and you had to, rate them which one you liked the best. And it was naturally it was almost always beans because of Bush's, but yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Bush's is made in America, I'll tell you. And they're a great member of ours, of course, as well as many other canners in the country. And I can imagine you, Bobby, looking good in orange.
That's right.
Looking good in orange.
Oh, yeah.
He said it's close to that gold color that he loves so much. So it's just perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Tim, tell our audience where they can go to see what y'all are up to, and if they have questions, where can they go to learn more?
Absolutely. It's pretty simple, right? We have a terrific website called usapulses.org, just www.usapulses.org. Tons of information there. We have, if growers want to get more information, just send us an email to our info@usapulses.org. And, we have guidebooks, from university scientists saying this is how you grow this crop and what it brings to the table. There's all kinds of recipes on that website as well. If you can basically go to your pantry and say, what do I have in my pantry? And just name that in our recipe book, and they'll come up with a terrific recipe of how to use these crops. They're really not that hard to cook, although people get a little freaked out if you have a dry product and you got to soak a bean overnight.
Yeah.
You may have to do it if you have the dry product. But some crops like lentils, you don't have to soak overnight. They just cook up in 30 to 40 minutes. It's just not that tough. Split peas are the same way. But if you do want to do something overnight, it's not that hard. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Just plan ahead.
Plan ahead just a little bit, or you get an Instapot, right? And just like you have for rice or for beans, then it's no problem. It's a little pressure cooker, which is really the way most of the world cooks their pulses, is in some sort of a pressure tank, like an Instapot. And they are so delicious, and they're so terrific for you as well, right? But mostly they're just delicious.
Yeah.
And we have some great recipes. It's got to taste good, right? I mean, it can be healthy for you, but if it tastes like dirt, you're just not going to eat it.
That's right.
But we have great recipes that can really deliver on being a craveable food, and you won't be sorry when you eat your pulses.
Awesome. Well, Mr. Tim, we appreciate you joining us today.
Hey, it's been terrific to be with my friends from Tennessee. And next time I'm there, I'm going to have to look you up.
Yep. You are.
And see how the pulse production is going.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Well, hang around for just a second. We're going to wrap this up. Guys, we appreciate y'all for tuning in. We ask that you go and leave us 5-star ratings on Spotify, Apple. Write us some cool, funny reviews. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit subscribe. Comment below. Let us know what you think about this episode. Let us know if you would consider planting some pulses and putting them into your rotation. And also, tractormat.com. Use code TALKDIRT, all caps, all one word. Save yourself some money on a great American-made product. And
agzaga.com. Y'all know the discount code TALKDIRT20. $20 off that $50 minimum order and free shipping.
Yep. All right, guys. We will catch you next week.
You've been listening to Talk Dirt to Me with your hosts, Logan and Bobby Lee. If you enjoyed this episode, we ask that you subscribe and leave a review, and we'll catch you next time.